Well, hello again, everyone. Hope you all are well. Today's an exciting day because we start a new book and a new subset of our topic, Freedom in American Society. The next couple of lectures will be on Book 2, Freedom and Economic Order. So we start with Chapter 1. You might ask yourself, why are we having to think about economics in a course on freedom and American society? Most people, when they think of economics, I always play a game when I'm in the classroom. I go, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you think of economics? And most people, not everyone, but most people will say money. We associate economics with money. Well, that is actually not accurate. That's not what economics is about. Economics is an aspect of human existence that we cannot avoid. And certainly a discussion of freedom in American society cannot ignore the all-important economic dimension of freedom. Now, what is that? What do we mean by that? And what is economics? There's a famous saying that economics is a dismal science, and people's eyes usually either glaze over or they think, oh no, economics, it is a difficult and complex subject that a full mastery of takes many, many years to study. But I think, and what we're going to try to do here, is to get a general understanding of the role that economic arrangements in a society play with respect to our main topic, which is individual freedom. So bear with me. So what is economics about if it's not about money? As I said, economics is an inescapable dimension of human life, and whether we like it or not, whether we're interested in it or not, we cannot avoid both acting in an economic fashion and thinking about economic considerations. Every single one of us does it every single day of our lives. We make economic decisions about everything, whether you're aware of it or not. What's economics about if it's not about money? Not about profits and business and the stock market and investments and all those kinds of things that people usually associate with the term. It actually derives, the reason why we have to think about economics, and we can't ignore it, no matter what we think, whether we think it's vulgar or whatever, it's not. It is an aspect derived from the nature of things. Our need to behave and think economically derives not from personal choice, but from the nature of the kind of world that we live in. A couple things. First of all, some people have contempt for economics because they think it's all about getting rich or making money or materialistic pursuits. That's also not true. Whatever your goals, whether they're materialistic or whether they are idealistic, whether they're selfish or whether they're selfless, you nevertheless have to take economic considerations into account. It doesn't matter. Mother Teresa, who very symbol of selflessness, helping others, helping children in need, she has as much concern about economics as a rich fat cat who wants to buy himself more yachts or fancy real estate. It doesn't matter what your goals. Economic considerations are central to human existence and cannot be ignored no matter what you think. So first of all, economics is not concerned with material wealth, but the fact of scarcity. That's the magic word. Why do we have to think about economics whether we think we're interested or not? Again, it's because of the nature of our world, the nature of things, as the older economists put it. And the nature of things is the kind of world that we live in is characterized at its fundamental level by what economists call the fact of scarcity. Now, scarcity, if something is scarce, that's just another word for limited. The fact that resources are inherently scarce in our world means that resources are inherently limited. That's just to say that no one on earth has or ever has had or ever will have unlimited resources. Any of you out there have unlimited resources? I'm pretty certain you don't. Does any person in the world have unlimited resources? Does any society or country or nation or group of nations have unlimited resources? No. Resources are inescapably limited. Now, from that fact, follows the need to engage in economic behavior. We can't avoid it, we can't change it. Nobody can change the nature of things, that resources are inherently limited by nature. And so therefore we have to deal with it. And how we deal with it is what the economic dimension of existence is all about. Now, how we deal with scarcity, it is economics, affects many, many different areas of life. Now, we've talked about how freedom means the ability to think or act in the absence of coercion. Now, we want to be free in all the dimensions of our life. We don't want to have just religious freedom or freedom of speech or freedom of press or freedom of assembly or the right to petition government and all the rest of it. We want to be free in everything we do. So freedom touches upon every dimension of life, as does economics. That's why we have to bring the two concepts together. So the question is, what are the economic arrangements compatible with a free society? That's what we're going to be looking for. Now, I sometimes like to characterize the so-called economic problem that confronts every human society known to man, including Robinson Crusoe alone on his desert island. He, even though, as I think we mentioned earlier, that he doesn't have an issue with justice because there's no other people that he has to treat a certain way, but he does have an economic problem, like every other human being who's ever lived on this earth, from the most primitive, earliest people to the most modern, sophisticated in contemporary society. They have to confront this fact of scarcity. Resources are limited, and no one has unlimited resources. See, if there was even one person in all the 7+ billion people presently alive on Earth, if there was even one person who had unlimited resources, none of us would have an economic problem ever again. We could put this dimension of existence aside. Because if someone, think about it, had unlimited resources, unlimited is unlimited. Unlimited would mean that this person who possessed unlimited resources could supply all 7 billion people on Earth with everything they might conceivably or possibly want or need, because unlimited resources are unlimited. We could have everything. And everybody could have as much as they wanted any time without any need to think about economic concerns. Obviously, no one on Earth has unlimited resources. So therefore, we have to think about economics. We have to think about what follows from the fact of scarcity. Now, the fact of scarcity leads to what we sometimes call the economic problem facing all human beings and every society. And it's this. Okay, we're looking for the best solution to the problem of scarce or limited resources. So what would the best solution look like? This is what we're looking for. What we want to do, what we want to achieve, the goal, is to use the limited resources of this world in such a way that maximizes human flourishing. That is, to be less general, to be more specific, what we want to do is use those resources to create goods and services that people actually need or want in their own judgment. And we want to do it in the least cost manner, in the most efficient possible way. So the economic problem is this: how do we find a way to produce goods and services most efficiently, lowest cost? We don't want to waste resources because that would be wrong. Resources are scarce and limited, and if you waste them on producing something people don't want, somebody else's needs are not met. So we want to use sources efficiently, lowest cost, and we also want to use those resources to produce goods and services that people, in their own estimation, actually need or want. What good does it do to use scarce resources to produce things that people do not need or want? That is just another massive waste and wrong from every point of view, personally and socially. So we're trying to look for a system or a set of economic arrangements that will enable us to use the scarce resources of this world in the most efficient possible manner, and that means using them in the production of those goods and services that people actually need or want. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. That's the economic problem. In the modern period, in our period, there have been two great paradigms offered that attempt to solve the economic problem created by the fact of scarcity. And we generally, and we'll use these terms loosely because they're not really adequate, but because they're conventional, we can't escape them. These two systems that have emerged in the modern world that purport to be able to solve the economic problem are roughly known as capitalism, or the opposite is really the planned economy, but people commonly call it socialism, communism, or some other form of planned economy. Capitalism is a term that we're not going to be able to ignore because it's in such common currency, but it actually doesn't really capture the essence of the market process. The term capitalism was invented by one of the great modern enemies of capitalism, Karl Marx, who wrote a famous book, Das Kapital, and he was the first to talk about capitalists, and the word kind of stuck, and we talk about capitalism today. Other synonyms for capitalism, and really preferable to that term, are, as we say here at PBA, the free enterprise system, or the market process, or the market system. And the best term of all, which I'm going to try to explain to you why this is so, the best term of all is the price system, because that's what capitalism in the market really is all about. The crucial role of prices in helping to solve the economic problem. So we have capitalism, free enterprise, the market system, the market process, the price system on the one side, versus planned economy of various kinds, socialism, communism, fascism, and other forms of that attempt to deliberately arrange the distribution of the allocation of resources in society by some kind of centralized authority. So we'll get back to that. Now, what do they have? So we have capitalism and socialism. Now, the chief place where they differ and divide is in this all-important question of who is responsible for making decisions. Because you see, the economic problem forces upon us, the problem of scarcity forces upon us another central concept of economics. Scarcity forces upon us the need to make a choice. Resources are scarce. We can't produce everything that all 7 billion people on Earth would actually need or want. Resources are limited. So scarcity forces upon us choice. So these are the two central concepts of economics, by the way. One, scarcity, two, choice. So somebody has to choose, somebody has to decide, out of all the possible things, goods and services that can be produced with our limited resources, what exactly are we going to produce? Somebody has to make that decision, whether it's Robinson Crusoe alone on his island, the leader of an early tribe, or someone in modern contemporary society. It doesn't go away. Somebody has to decide. We can't have everything, so somebody has to decide what to produce. Economists sometimes call this the problem of production. Somebody has to make a decision about what to produce from the limited goods and the limited resources that are available to us. And that also implies answering the question of how do we produce something, right? I mean, obviously things can be produced in many different ways. You can build a building using slave labor or modern technological equipment, power equipment, right? So somebody has to decide. The problem of production forces upon the need to decide what to produce and how to produce it. Problem of production. Now, once things are produced, there's a second problem a decision that must be made. And sometimes we call this the problem of distribution. That is, from the goods and services that have been chosen to be produced, who gets them? How are they distributed throughout society? Who gets what? Economists call that the problem of distribution. And these problems, as I said, are unavoidable for mankind in whatever economic system they're under, and however the level of their economic development. Somebody has to decide what to produce and how to produce it, and someone has to decide who gets it. It's irrefutable. There's no way beyond that. Where capitalism and socialism depart is right here at the very beginning, because the question then is, who makes such decisions? Who gets to decide what to produce and how to produce it, and who gets to decide who gets what? This is where the divide between capitalism and socialism enters the picture. Under a capitalist or a market system, who decides what is to be produced, and who decides who gets what, how it's to be distributed?